And get started with our first guest today, Mr. David Reinprecht. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Now, tell us your story. You have a very interesting story as far as how you got involved in nutrition and being a personal trainer. So where did that start?
Yeah, that was a little funny story. I'm from Europe, from Austria, from a very small town. I mean, we're not even 2,000 people in our town, so it's very tiny. It's actually close where Arnold Schwarzenegger is from. That's why we have the funny accent. Yeah, I was about 11 years old. You know, that's the time where the testosterone is kicking in and you start liking girls. And I was, you know, pretty shy back then. And but you know, it got to a point where I couldn't help it no more. And there was this one girl I really liked a lot. And you know, I tried to figure out what's the best way to approach her. And so I decided to, you know, write a little note, and I was hiding it. But of course, you know, little kids are a little mean, as you know. And one of my best friends, he exposed me, and he gave it to her. And yeah, I remember it was, well, she came up to me with the little note, and she looked at me, and she goes, "Did you write this?" And I looked at her, and I was like, I didn't even know what to say, you know, because I didn't know how she would react. And well, I didn't have much to say anyways, and she looked at me and she said, "Well, if that's from you, I mean, look at you. You think I go with you? You're fat."
Ouch.
Ouch, yeah. So that was like a Mike Tyson punch in my face, and left and right and slap, and ouch, yeah, that was painful.
Yeah.
But you know, something great happened out of that, because I lost, that was in kilograms, so if in pounds, I lost about 28 pounds.
Wow.
In less than 2 weeks.
Whoa.
So when she said that to me, my whole life had a huge shift. I was this little kid who liked to eat chocolate, you know, gummy bears and all that stuff. And from one day to the next, I wanted to know everything about nutrition, how to build my perfect body, what's happening internally, you know, what food to eat and what to drink, you know, I wanted to know everything. So to make a long story short, I became a nutritionist. I went to college. I became a fitness trainer. I went to the army for 1.5 years. I went to, what's it called, if you translate it, in Europe, in Austria, the sports academy for 2 years. And yeah, so when it comes to sports, nutrition, training, supplementations, I mean, I'm very knowledgeable when it comes to that. And thanks to her, you know, my career was born as a nutritionist. And yeah, that's how it happened.
Sure, I mean, that's an impressive way to start. For sure. I mean, and good for you for acknowledging. Thank you. Thank you for that. I mean, that happens in our lives. And now look at you, you're extremely successful, and you're sharing your knowledge with other people, which is wonderful when you're able to take that gift and share it with other people and help other people's lives. I mean, as a personal trainer, you know, just helping people get stronger, that's amazing. And helping people with nutrition. Nutrition is terribly misunderstood, isn't it? It's just this big old open thing, and they tell you what you can eat and what you can't eat, and most of it's lies anyway.
Yeah, it's when it comes to nutrition, I've seen it all over the years. Now I'm doing this for 20 years now, and you know, people are so focused on the label. You know, oh, it's the Atkins diet or South Beach diet. I mean, they all have the fancy labels. You know, but really, what's happening is there's only one way the body can lose fat and, you know, and build muscles. So. And there's no way around it. You know, if you eat sugar, and yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people eat sugar without even knowing, consciously or unconsciously, because sugar is almost in everything, you know, especially here in the United States, which is sad. And what's happening internally is, you know, if you eat sugar, you know, you have insulin resistance. Your insulin goes up. When the insulin is activated, that means, you know, it blocks the fat burning process. And on top of that, you know, it also activates insulin. Insulin, it also stores fat immediately. So for the last 10 years, I was working at the Gold Gym in Venice Beach, and I was working with a lot of professional athletes, bodybuilders, fitness models to get them on stage. And so I know what it takes to go on stage and be super ripped, you know. Sure, dieting is 70%, 30% is training, and of course nutrition. And sure, you know, in bodybuilding you have to know about that. Unfortunately, that's part of the game. You also have to know about steroids, because that's all what it takes to be on stage. And so I had to learn everything about that stuff. And yeah, and people really think, you know, it's so complicated, but it's really not. When you know how the body works internally, and you know when to eat and what to eat, when not to eat, and you know, and you eat the right carbs with low glycemic index and all that stuff. I mean, we can talk about this, you know, it will take too long, but people think it has to be complicated to be successful. And that's, I'm here to tell you, this is not the case. It's actually very simple, to the point. And all my clients, and there's no exception unless they cheat, of course, every client is losing at least a pound or, you know, every day or every second day with my program.
Wow.
And I'm not selling a diet, you know, I'm not, there's no fancy marketing behind it. I'm just working with, you know, with the body.
With the knowledge of the body.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. That's step one, is to know how your body deals with stuff. I mean, the whole sugar thing was such a shock, you know, when that goes, and then fat, really just coming from that one piece of information about what sugar does to your body and to the fat content and what it does to the nutrition that you're taking in. Something very interesting, you know, we hear about supplementation. People take, wow, I mean, you know, my countertop's covered with them, but there's a huge difference between one supplement to the next. Can you break that down for us on what it looks like?
Yes, I want to give you a little pre-story so that people understand how I got to this point. I was a sponsored fitness model and athlete for a big company. I don't want to mention the name, but I learned a lot about the supplement business. I saw what's behind the curtain. So. And unfortunately, people think the bigger the corporation, the better the product. It's actually the opposite, because big corporation on the stock market, they have investors, they have, you know, 2,000 employees working for them, so they have to pay them. You know, there's a lot of expenses, and let's face it, they also have to compete with other corporations. And unfortunately, there's only one way to make more money, and for the most part, unfortunately, you know, the product itself has to suffer.
Right.
Because
cheaper ingredients.
Yeah, cheap ingredients and cheap fillers, and that's something I want to expose today, because I'm sure that a lot of people have no clue. I had no clue, and I'm taking supplements since 20 years.
Right.
And you probably only know that when you're a supplement owner, and I had to go through the process. When you're a supplement owner and you go to a manufacturer and you have your formulation, as an example, let's say vitamin C, okay? If I purchase 1 kilogram of vitamin C, I have the option to buy it at 65% potency up to 95%. 95%, of course, the most expensive, the best potency and all that stuff. But it will never show that on the label.
Right.
Because, hey, I purchased 1 kilogram of vitamin C. It doesn't say I purchased it for 65% potency or 75% potency, no.
Well, that's very frightening.
Yeah, so it will never show that on the label, unfortunately. And that's how they get away with, you know, different prices. You know, and that's also, you know, a lot of people ask themselves, how is it possible there's, you know, 20 different vitamin C's and they all have different price ranges. Like one is $5 and one is like $35.
Right.
Well, now you know the answer.
There you go. It's that simple. It's the quality of the ingredients. Vitamin C is not vitamin C. There's so much more involved in nutrition and supplementation. If you want some more information through David, you can go to BioCorpLLC.com. Great website, lots of information there. Of course, you can email, you can give him a call. Very approachable, very easy to get a hold of. David, thank you so much for being here. We could spend the whole hour talking about nutrition. It's one of my passions too, so I really appreciate what you're doing for folks, and I obviously, you see the results right here, so how can you argue with that? So David Reinprecht, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Don't go away, because we've got lots more of the experience right after this.